One of the growing trends in craft chocolate is making raw chocolate. It's not something that I've done before. It's not something that I've really seen. And I haven't even actually tasted it. I've seen the one brand, I think it's Rocca. Sorry guys if I'm pronouncing your brand wrong. I know they make raw chocolate, but it never really appealed to me. But like a good scientist, taste, test, experiment before you come to conclusions. So that's what we're doing today. We're talking about the flavor of raw chocolate versus roasted chocolate. After a long hiatus, welcome back to this episode of Craft Chocolate Test Kitchen. I'm Jesse Funk here with my lovely wife,
Amy Funk.
And we're going to be taste testing raw versus roasted chocolate. This video took me a little while to get out because life gets in the way is the short version. I made both these bars as 70% beans, 30% sugar just to make the most basic thing is really try to dissect what the flavors are. But I went beyond that and I made a homemade chocolate conch. And I don't mean a refiner or a melanger, I mean a conch. And I'll talk about that in another video. So if you want to talk about actually making chocolate in compared to how they taste, subscribe, stick around. So you'll be able to check out that video when that video comes out. But one of the things that went wrong was that the saying, if you play with fire, you're going to get burned. When it comes to chocolate, if you play with water, you're going to destroy your chocolate eventually. So I'll have a picture of my conch gone wrong. My beaker got away from me and it dumped my chocolate in the water and it destroyed the thing. And then it was raining the next week and it was just a whole series of water kind of screwing things up and delaying everything to getting to this video. So it's taken me a lot longer to get these two batches out than I really wanted to. Amy's been patient with me as I'm like, I gotta go back to the basement and grind more chocolate and figure this out. But here we are. So through this video, so Amy and I are gonna taste test these. You said you don't know which is which. I mean,
Blind taste test for me.
I know which is which. And we've got to taste them a little bit over time. So this isn't like necessarily a very first taste test, but we do taste them differently kind of each time that we try them. So I want to talk about what we taste in each, kind of the differences, and then why maybe you would go with one or the other. So let's dive in, try one out, we'll talk about it, and then we'll try the other one out. Amy reminded me you have to smell it first, so we have to do that, and then the reason Amy's here is because she has a more refined palate than I do. So
I was literally just gonna say that neither of us have a very refined palate. We do like chocolate. So it's nice. It has like a berry flavor. Mm-hmm. I'm already gonna guess this is not the raw one, but we'll see.
We'll see. Amy's saying bar one is not the raw one.
We tried this once before, but it's been a couple weeks.
It's easy to forget between like the bars which is which and what taste I taste. I get like she had mentioned this a couple weeks ago and I tasted a little bit more today. It's almost winey, like tannin, like where like you taste some beans and it's really like a sharp fruit or like a really deep chocolate or something.
Almost like a little earthy.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like I want to say grassy, but that sounds like very much like I have a refined palate. I really don't. But.
I mean, it can be grassy, like that's okay. I think at the end of it, at the end of the flavor, I get, it's not acidic, but it's almost like tacky on my tongue.
I think it's like a kind of berry-y at the end for me.
With any good taste test, you gotta drink water in between so you're not, trying to mix the flavors. Ideally, it should be lukewarm. If it's cold, then it affects the rate at which the chocolate melts in your mouth, and that can affect the flavor. It's also like the thermometer says 68 in here, but I think that's a little low. So it's like 70s in the house right now. I've seen guides that say anything from like 75 to 77 for dark chocolate, but it almost starts to like melt a little bit to me at that, and you kind of lose some of the flavor. So anyway, we'll cleanse our palates, our super refined palates here, and get on to bar number 2 and see what we taste.
This doesn't smell as sweet as the other one. I feel like this one tastes a little more fudgy. Then you kind of get like the berry flavor after the fudgy flavor. I think I actually like it better than the last time I had it.
So what's funny is that, for clarity's sake, we are using the same bean for both of them, because it would make no sense to use a different bean, but I don't think I've ever actually tasted it in this bean before, but people have said, or this strongly, but like I got a fudgy flavor, I got like a caramel note, which I thought was interesting because I've kind of got that when we've done the dark milk chocolate, but I think it's the milk powder I'm tasting, and there's obviously no milk powder in this. It's just 70% bean. So it's like fudge and then caramel. And I really did not get the fruity flavor this time for me. And I almost always do when I've been eating this bar. I've actually eaten a number of these since I made them. As they kind of like sit out on the counters and we like chomp away. But we'll see. It's like it kind of depends. I chew them up. I know that's like a faux pas, but that's that unrefined thing that I do.
Oh, I always like to do like let one melt and then let one then do a crunchy one. It is definitely like a lighter flavor than the other one. Now I can't remember which one's which.
Yep, still not getting the fruity flavor today.
I think at the end.
A little bit at the end, but I think it's maybe just a temperature thing, because like it's been warmer and then it got cooler, so now it's cooler in the house. And that's the kind of interesting thing is like the temperature of the bar, the room temperature of the bar affects how you taste it. So bar number 1 was the raw chocolate. Bar number 2 is the roasted chocolate. One of the things I think I get between the two is that like the raw bar has more like a single note, or it's more mashed together. Like the roasted chocolate to me kind of comes in waves, like fudgy and then caramel and so it's like it kind of stacks. And whereas the raw chocolate's just like the flavor I got was like the winey tannin, and it's all just, here it is. It's all this one envelope kind of together. I don't really get waves in the raw chocolate like I do in the roasted.
Yeah. I think the roasted one's like a smoother flavor, like overall.
Yeah, I didn't get...
But like smoother, but not like you were saying, like you still get like different flavor notes.
Yeah, it's like you... I think it's those acidic notes you lose a little bit because you've done the roasting. It's gotten rid of some of that. And as I was like going through the process of crack, winnow, grind, put it in the conch, I was tasting the raw one as I went along. And honestly, I was like, this is disgusting. Like, I was like, I'm not going to like this at all.
Yeah.
And I noticed a marked difference in flavor on the roasted one from when I took it out of the melanger to when I took it out of the conch. Like it made a drastic difference in taking that like vinegary flavor out, just the time I spent in the conch. So again, subscribe if you want to watch the video where I talk more about the conch and why we're doing that. But I think making raw is probably a valid way to go if you want to do that, but it does present some challenges. I had a lot harder challenge winnowing because the beans didn't crack as well. Like when you do the roasting, it helps those shells come off of the beans. So I had more loss, at least the first time I did it around. I didn't have as much loss the second time I cracked it. It's good. Same beans. I bought 50 kilos of this Colombian bean that I used in that very first episode of the show where I did the dark milk chocolate. That's my favorite bean that I've tried so far. So I'm doing all the experiments on the channel this year with this Colombian bean.
Can you tell us? I don't remember what like the flavor, like the tasting notes are supposed to be for the bean. Like, don't they say? Like,
yeah. So the advertisement for this bean is like, it's like chocolate ganache, caramel, and whiskey. Okay. And then that's like on the website, and then once you ask for the wholesale thing, then it talks about some berry notes, which is funny because I think it's just, again, a little bit just different people taste different things, and that's why before I ordered the 50 kilos, I had roasted it in the oven. This is before I had my barrel roaster, and I didn't get berry at all. I was like, yeah, I do get the chocolate and the fudgy and a little bit of the caramel. It wasn't real strong. But I didn't get the berry at all. But then once we've done this and I've had it a number of times, I go, oh, I do get the berry now. So chocolate is fun and mysterious, and there's all these kinds of like transformation processes. One of the things I didn't mention as well at the beginning is that both these bars are aged as well. So refined for 24 hours, conched for 24 hours, then they sat for 2 weeks. Well, technically the roasted sat for a week longer than the raw, but they had time sitting before they were molded. Some people think aging is silly, and that includes me. But I know that like through one of the businesses I own, which is a cosmetics business, some of the things that we make, you make them, they're the simplest ingredients, but like just sitting on the shelf for a week, the texture and things will change. So I know there is something that shouldn't happen with these kind of, very simple ingredient concoctions, including chocolate, that time has a way of affecting. So I figured I'd go ahead and do that. And I do think it comes out differently if you do it just immediately versus letting it age and then molding it.
I do want to say that I've been just snacking on these as you've been talking, but going back from the roasted to the raw, after you mentioned that it's supposed to taste like whiskey, and I feel like I taste whiskey is not, like now that I know that that's what you're supposed to be tasting, like maybe that it's affecting my brain, but I feel like it tastes more alcohol-y and whiskey-y.
Yeah, I don't have a big history with alcohol, so it's hard for me to identify some of those notes just because they're just not really in my taste flavor vocabulary.
Yeah, my guess is it probably tastes a little like wine because of the berry, like a little bit of berry flavor, so then you're getting like some of the
alcohol-y, berry.
Fruity, yeah.
I'm sure somebody more versed in alcohol would be like, that tastes exactly like a blah blah blah, and I'd be like, sure, that's absolutely it. So that's kind of the long and short of what we're tasting when we're doing raw versus roasted. When you're making your own, I think it's a perfectly good experiment to do to see which do you prefer, and then also to be able to see like what is your roasting doing, like what kind of transformation are you actually imparting on the bean from where it comes in its absolute raw form. So again, if you want to check out that conching video, hit subscribe, stick around with me. That'll be out here a couple weeks after this one is. And I'll see you next time on the next episode of Craft Chocolate Education.